Otherwise, the system's not going to work.
Senator got a release from the governor's campaign earlier today that said if you want to see what Illinois would look like if Bill Brady's elected governor, go look at New Jersey under Chris Christie. One, is that a fair summation of your plan, and would you consider that a bad thing since you're now standing next to him?
I think most of the nation would consider what Chris Christie did in New Jersey as a good thing. Governor Quinn continues to think you can tax, borrow, and spend your way into prosperity. Governor Christie realizes, as do the people of New Jersey, that we need fiscal discipline, that we need a governor they needed a governor who would stand up and balance the budget, to take on the Capitol, to take on the special interest, and provide the people of New Jersey with a balanced budget. As governor, that's what I'll do. Governor Quinn continues to dig a deeper hole. His budget doesn't solve any problems. His tax increases don't solve any problems. He digs a deeper hole, indebting further the people of Illinois, and worse yet, our children and grandchildren. I'll stand with Governor Christie on fiscal integrity, and as governor of this state, I'll do what he did. We will balance our budget.
Senator, you proposed doing a 401k system for pensions. So given what the governor just said, would you consider not contributing more money to pensions in order to use that as leverage to get the legislature to pass that?
As the governor indicated, he's got a different problem in New Jersey. If they continue meeting the obligations under the statutes, their hole grows. We passed a law in '95 that both Governor Quinn and Governor Blagojevich ignored, which has created our problem over the last 8 years. But I will leverage those payments to bring real meaningful reform. As I've indicated, if the private sectors adopt 401ks, I think that should be on the table to discuss.
What are we to make of these polls? Have we slipped and fallen? Is Bill Brady going to come back? Is Scott Lee Cohen going to spoil this thing?
You know, we're confident in our strategy and the fact that we're building momentum. We care deeply about one poll, and that's the poll on November 2nd. We know that internally our numbers are growing and that we're doing very, very well. Mark Kirk released a poll. The most recent one was last Thursday that had us up to political of 12 points. I will tell you that we just as soon our supporters thought this was a dead heat, and making sure that we get our supporters out to make sure the voters get out so we don't take anything for granted.
Are these people, is it the wrong people being asked? Is it the wrong question?
Well, the different polls have different methodologies. Governor Christie will tell you that several polls that were taken in his race were completely out of skew. We're confident with our internal data and with a lot of the independent polls that have been taken as well.
Senator, you've been talking about...
You had, I believe, an $11 billion hole.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people have been scoffing at Bill Brady's claim that he can balance the budget in year one. Would you address the problems and how they... I mean, you face a similar... Did you balance your budget in 1 year?
Yes.
And let's talk about how viable is it for Illinois to do this thing?
Listen, you can do it. Leadership is what makes the difference. And we submitted a constitutionally balanced budget to the legislature with no new taxes and no tax increases on the people of New Jersey. We had an $11 billion hole. It can be done. It's hard. We cut every department of state government, every one of them. Spending was cut, real spending, not projected. Real spending was cut 9% year over year. I mean, this is serious medicine that has to be given when you want to close that kind of hole. But for people that doubt that Bill Brady can do it, just completely misunderstands what's going on around the country. The people in America understand that we've overspent and overborrowed, and that the party is over. I've often said, you know, I feel like the guy who got an invitation to the party, and my invitation came 8 hours later than the party started. When I showed up, there were a bunch of drunks laying on the floor and a bunch of empties. You know, and I had to make a decision. Do I stay and clean up, or do I leave? Well, I decided I'm going to stay and clean up my state. But you don't clean up by just sitting down on the couch and start drinking yourself. You clean up. And that's what we need to do. And I have every confidence that Bill Brady's going to be able to do the same thing in Illinois. And those who don't believe it, I welcome Governor Quinn to come to New Jersey and see what's happening in New Jersey. It may give him some good ideas about what to do in his last 4 weeks as governor.
We got a press release from Planned Parenthood. They say it was done, for example, by cutting preventative care for women, including breast and cervical cancer screenings, STI testing and treatment. Is that something that would have to be cut?
Listen, first of all, if you're going to throw that out there, let me answer it first. I'll let Bill answer whatever he wants. The state of New Jersey provides nearly $60 million in providing those type of services in federally qualified health clinics and other clinics and in charity care around the state of New Jersey. The program that we cut was $7.5 million of duplicative services that are offered in every county in the state without that $7.5 million. So when you're going to make up an $11 billion deficit, you're going to have to cut a lot of different things. Here's the bottom line in New Jersey. Not one woman who needs to have that type of health care service is going without it. They can go to a federally qualified health clinic, other private clinics, and our hospital system, which is a big network of hospitals all across New Jersey. And so, this is Planned Parenthood playing politics. It will see no shock to you that I was not the choice of Planned Parenthood in New Jersey. And so now, as we begin to institute our policies, they're already playing for 3 years from now. The bottom line is this. Women who need those type of health care services in New Jersey are afforded them today with state money paying for it and federal money contributing to it.
Governor, Senator Brady points to your state as an example to make education cuts, especially when it comes to foregoing teacher pay raises. Can you speak a little bit to the cuts you've made and to renegotiation?
Well, listen, the education cuts we had to make were difficult. We cut $820 million from K-12 education in this last year's budget, and we made an offer to the teachers union. We said if you're willing to take a one-year pay freeze and contribute 1.5% of your salary to your health benefits, there will be the need for almost no teacher layoffs in New Jersey despite the $820 million cut, because that pay freeze and 1.5% contribution of salary to benefits would have created $700 million in savings across New Jersey. So you would have only had a $120 million cut across a state that already spends $25 billion on K-12 education. So it would have been a de minimis thing. The teachers union refused. They refused to do it, and so we've had teacher layoffs as a result. That's because the teachers union is unwilling to be part of the shared sacrifice. Now, every state is different. Every state's problems are different. But I could tell you that while I didn't want to make those education cuts, I made them because I had to close a budget deficit that has been growing year after year for all 8 years that the Democrats have been in charge of government in New Jersey. And so, we made the cuts we had to make. If the teachers union would have been willing to be part of the shared sacrifice, we would still have the same number of teachers working in New Jersey today that we had working a year ago. Unfortunately, they decided to put union power politics ahead of the interests of their own members. Pretty sad example of a public sector union who simply doesn't get it. I can't hear you. Could you?
Senator Brady is proposing a possible solution at one point. Is it realistic to work with that in Illinois?
Well, listen, I'll let Senator Brady answer that, but all I can tell you is that you got to make these hard decisions. And I would hope, after watching what's happened in New Jersey, that the teachers union in Illinois would step up to the plate and say, hey, we're going to be part of the shared sacrifice. Remember, we approached this cooperatively first. And I'm sure knowing Bill, that'd be the same way he'd approach it, but I'll leave it to him.
Absolutely, we'd approach it cooperatively. We have to work together. But the fact of the matter is we only have so many resources, and we'll reach out to the local units of government to cooperate with them to make the best decisions for the students in those school districts.
Senator, you talked with Cranes yesterday about a $50 billion borrowing plan related to pensions. How does that square with your opposition to borrowing in general?
Well, it was a discussion that came up in the endorsement interview with Cranes. People have suggested that one way to reduce the expense of the unfunded liabilities would go to the private sector markets. It's simply one option that we would weigh with the legislature in how to reduce the overall cost on the citizens and taxpayers of our pension systems. It may not be the proper one. The proper one may be to follow the 95 legislation. But rest assured that any resources that would be obtained would not be squandered in general revenue spending as the Blagojevich-Quinn administration.
What would you do with the what do you mean by squandered? What would you do with it?
Well, if you recall, Governor Blagojevich and Governor Quinn borrowed $10 billion, put about $7 into the fund and spent over $2. That's fiscally irresponsible and won't happen in my administration.
Thank you.
Thank you all.